ब्रज जनरंजना यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीजना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदना ब्रज जनरंजना यशोदानंदना ब्रज जनरंजना यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यशोदनंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha Jagannatha Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol. एवं विष्णुपाद परमं सपरिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमती श्री भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। एवं विष्णुपाद परमं सपरिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपा गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन धाम की जय। ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगामय की यमुनामय की जय। भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय। समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। युग धर्म हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन की जय। श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा मय की जय। श्री श्री गौनिताय की जय। निताय गौर प्रेम नंदे। All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठुकी। Today we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, chapter 23, the entitled Maharaj Prithu going back home. Text number 18. Tam sarvaguna vinyasam जीवे मायामयन्यथा तं चानुसयम् आत्मस्थं आसौ अनुसयी पुमान् ज्ञानवैराग्य वीर्येण स्वरूपस्थो जहत् प्रभु तं सर्वगुण विन्यासं जीवे मायामयन्यथा तं चानुसम् आत्मस्थं असौ अनुसयी पुमन् ज्ञानवैराग्य वीरेण स्वरूपस्थ जहत् प्रभु तं सर्वगुण विन्यासं जीवे मायामयन्यथा तं चानुसम् आत्मस्थं असावनुसयी पुमान् ज्ञानवैराग्य वीरेण स्वरूपस्थ जहत् प्रभु। श्री श्री गौरनिताय की जय, श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन की जय, श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा में की जय। तम सर्वगुण विन्यासम जीवे मायामयन्यथा तं चानुसयम् आत्मस्थं असावनुसयी पुमन् ज्ञानवैराग्य वीर्येण स्वरूपस्थो जहत् प्रभु। तं सर्वगुण विन्यासं जीवे मायामयन्यथा तं चानुसयम् आत्मस्थं असावनुसयी पुमान् ज्ञानवैराग्य वीर्येण स्वरूपस्थो जहत् प्रभु तं सर्वगुण विन्यासं जीवे मायामयन्यथा तं चानुसयम् आत्मस्थं असावनुसयी पुमान् ज्ञानवैराग्य वीर्येण स्वरूपस्थो जहत् प्रभु तं सर्वगुण विन्यासं जीवे मायामयन्यथा तां चानुसयम् आत्मस्थं पुमान् ज्ञानवैराग्य वीर्येण स्वरूपस्थो जहत् प्रभु। Word to word meaning: tam, unto him, sarvaguna vinyasam, the reservoir of all qualities, jive, unto the designations, mayamaye, the reservoir of all potencies, anyathat, placed, tam, that, cha, also, anusayam, designation, atmastam, situated in self-realization, asau, he, anusayi, the living entity, puman, the enjoyer, jnana, knowledge, vairagya, renunciation, viryena, by the prowess of sarupastha, being situated in one's constitutional position, ajahad, returned home, prabhu, the controller, Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Prithamaras then offered the total designation of the living entity unto the supreme controller of illusion energy, being released from all the designations by which the living entity became entrapped. He became free by knowledge and renunciation and by the spiritual force of his devotion service. In this way, being situated in his original constitutional position of Krishna consciousness, he gave up this body as a Prabhu or controller of the senses. Please repeat after me. Prithamaras then offered the total designation of the living entity unto the supreme controller of illusory energy, being released from all the designations by which the living entity became entrapped. He became free by knowledge and renunciation and by the spiritual force of his devotion service. In this way, being situated in original constitutional position of Krishna consciousness, he gave up this body as a Prabhu or controller of the senses. Purport. As stated in the Vedas, the Supreme Personality of the Godhead is the source of material energy. Consequently, he is sometimes called Maya Maya, or the Supreme Person, who can create his pastimes through his potency known as the material energy. The Jiva, or the individual living entity, becomes entrapped by the material energy by the supreme will of the Supreme Personality of the Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridyase arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudani mayaya. Ishvara, the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, is situated within the heart of all conditioned souls, and by his supreme will, the living entity or individual soul gets the facility to lord it over material nature in various types of bodies, which are known as yantra, or the moving vehicle offered by the total material energy Maya. Although the individual living entity Jiva and the Lord are both situated within the material energy, the Lord is directing the movements of the Jiva soul by offering him different types of bodies through the material energy, and thus the living entity is wandering throughout the universes in various forms of body and becomes implicated in different situations, partaking of the reactions of fruitive activities. When Prithamaras became spiritually powerful by the enhancement of his spiritual knowledge, jnana, and renunciation of material desire, he became a Prabhu or master of his senses, sometimes called Goswami or Swami. This means that he was no longer controlled by the influence of material energy. When one is strong enough to give up the influence of material energy, he is called Prabhu. In this verse, the word Sarupa Stha is very also significant. The real identity of the individual soul lies in understanding or attaining the knowledge that he is eternally servant of Krishna. This understanding is called Sarupa Labdhi. By culturing devotion service, the devotee gradually comes to understand his actual relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This understanding of one pure spiritual position is called Sarupa Labdhi. And one attains that stage, he can understand how he is related with the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a servant or friend or as a parent or conjugal lover. This stage of understanding is called Sarupa Sthaha. Prithamaras realized this Sarupa completely, and it will be clear in that later verses that he personally left this world or this body by riding on a chariot sent from Vaikuntha. In this verse, the word Prabhu is also significant. As stated before, when one is completely self-realized and act according to that position, he can be called Prabhu. The spiritual master is addressed as Prabhupada because he is completely self-realized soul. The word Pada means position, and Prabhupada indicates that he is given the position of Prabhu or the Supreme Personality of the Godhead. For he acts on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unless one is Prabhu or controller of the senses, he cannot act as a spiritual master who is authorized by the Supreme Prabhu or Lord Krishna. In his verse praising the spiritual master, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur writes, Sakshat Daritrina Samasta Shastra Uktastata Bhavi Eva Sadvi. The spiritual master is honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he is the most confidential servant of the Lord. Thus, Prithu Maharaj can also be called Prabhupada or as described here in Prabhu. Another question may be raised in his connection. Since Prithu Maharaj was a power incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Saktyavyasa Avatara, why did he have executed the regulative principles in order to become a Prabhu? Because he appeared on this earth as an ideal king, and because it is the duty of the king to instruct the citizens in the execution of devotion service. He allowed all the regulative principles of the devotion service in order to teach others. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although Krishna himself, taught us how to approach Krishna as a devotee. It is said, Apani Achari Bhakti Sikhainu Sabare. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed others in the process of devotion service by setting the example himself through his own personal actions. Similarly, Prithu Maharaj, although a Saktyavyasa Avatara incarnation, still behaved exactly as a devotee in order to achieve the position of Prabhu. Furthermore, Swarupastha means complete liberation. As it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, Itva Anyata Rupam Swarupena Vyavastitaha. When a living entity abandons the activities of Maya and attains the position from which he can execute devotion service, its state is called Swarupastha or complete liberation. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmritam Yena Tasmaya Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamyaham Dadati Swapadandikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Srivasati Gaura Bhakta Brinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangam langaiti giram yatkrupatam ham vande Sri Gurum Tinatarinam. So, how Maharaj, Prithu Maharaj is give up all material designations and is completely fixed on his devotion service. So Prabhupada is explaining that how material energy, Lord creates this material energy, Mahat Tattva, and Jiva also entered in this material energy along with Lord also. So both Lord, he will also enter this as a Paramatma in everyone's heart. When Jiva comes into this material world, he want to enjoy this material world. So he will be affected by the gunas, and because of his activities is associated with the modes of gunas, then he will totally entangled in this material world by the fruitive activities. By such a fruitive activities, he will get the different types of bodies. That is actually living entity. So why Lord comes, he is situated in everyone's heart, because he has to give direction to the living entity, because living entity came from this spiritual world and he entered in this heart because of desires. To fulfill that his desires, Paramatma, Lord also comes in this material world. That is what in Bhagavad Gita it is mentioned. Samane Uruksha Purusha Nimagnaha. The Jiva is completely absorbed in these fruitive activities, and the Paramatma, he gives the sanction. He has a witness to whatever the desires is there, he has to sanction. But the Jiva, is not able to sing the Paramatma is just side is there, but he want to absorb and to enjoy, though he is changing different bodies, jumping different bodies, trees, branches, and Paramatma also has to go. So by this jiva actually completely entrapped in this material world, and he'll completely forget that that real relationship with Krishna. So by that, that's why Prabhupada is mentioning Maya or the supreme person who can create this pastime through his potency known as the material energy. So, so by this jiva, the living entity, he, when absorbed in this fruitive activities, he will completely entangle in this material world. He forget his original relationship with Krishna. So in this verse that Prabhupada is mentioning three important points. One is Sarupa, Stha, and Prabhu. And there is a Jnana, Vairagya, Viryena. There is in Bhagavatam also verses there. Vasudeva Bhagavati, Bhakti Yoga Prayojita, Janatyasu Vairagyam, Jnanam Jahat Aitukam. Means one understand Krishna, when come to see understand his relationship with Krishna, then he automatically you will get the knowledge and renunciation. You need not to extra put endeavor for that to get the knowledge and renunciation, because he is serving Krishna. He is completely absorbed in serving to Krishna. So Krishna gives the knowledge, that is renunciation and knowledge. By that, slowly, he will liberated position. He will come to the liberated position. So in previous verse also it told actually that is no, unless one understand Krishna, he cannot be liberated. Because why? Because Krishna, in living entity, actually he has a eternal relationship with Krishna. So unless he serves Krishna, there is no chance of liberation for the living entity. Till that time, he has to rotate in this material world. That is when verse is there, no? That is labdhva tasyeva hetu prayateta kovido tallabhyate yad brahmatanuparyanam nallabhyate yad annita sukham kalena sarvatra gabira ramsaharam. Means the living entity, as long as he come to the understand his relationship with Krishna, he has to wander in this material world again and again, and take the different types of body. So Sarupastha means once understand the constitutional position, that is the liberation platform. So how to understand? Unless he come to the contact with the saintly persons or contact a pure devotee, he cannot understand, or he has to engage some service in the Krishna. That is what in Chaitanya Charitamrita is Brahmande Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasadapai Bhakti Lata Bis. Means the Bhakti Lata, it is there in the heart of every living entity. But when comes to contact with his spiritual master or a pure devotee, then his Bhakti Lata Bija will be slowly grow. Then he will understand that is I am not belongs to this material world. So Prabhupada is maintaining this. This is in Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada in the introduction he spoke about what is the Sarupa Siddhi. That is Sanatana Goswami asked to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu this question. What is the living entity has is a Sarupa. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very nicely explained that. Prabhupada also wrote the purport. Means Jiva, when comes to this material world, he just associated with the modes and he will be entrapped and he forget the relationship with Krishna. He serves so many people, so many bodies, but still he will not understanding that he is actually eternal relationship with Krishna. So this character of a living entity is very, it cannot be separated, that the servited attitude from the living entity. Everybody have a servite attitude. This is you cannot separate. Like fire, when there is a heat and there is a light, then it called be fire. Otherwise, it cannot be fire, because the fire cannot be separated heat and light. So similarly, the constitutional position of the living entity, he has to serve Krishna. But that is covered, then he has to serve to so many people. Prabhupada explained that. A serves the B master, and the B serves to C, and C serves to D. Like that, in Bhagavad Gita it is mentioned. Means Prabhupada morally elaborately explain. Means the um, the son the serves the father, and the father serves the son, and the husband serves the wife, and the wife also serves the husband. A student serves the teacher, and a spiritual master, the disciple has to serve the spiritual master, and so on. And Prabhupada told that is this minister, the prime minister or a CM minister, they promise to, before election, they promise to public that I will serve you as much as will my capacity, so please vote for me. Isn't it? We'll see before elections we see, no? Everybody, they promise so many things. Of course, they will not fulfill that after they will become leader, so they will not fulfill that. So they are also promised that to every living entity that I will serve as much my capacity. So what is that is going on? Means that is everybody actually the service is there, and the business person want to serve the customer, and the customer also want to serve the business, and the politicians serve to the public. So these things cannot be separated. Also it says, because when we have a designation in this material world, living entity is covered by the designations. These designations, it is not recognizing that I am serving. Like Prime Minister thinks he is serving to whole world, whole country, but he is not thinking I am the main person. If I am not there, then country, what will happen? Everybody thinks like that, because that is designation is blocking that to understand the serving. And the husband, the father thinks in the family that if I am the man, I am not there, what about this children and family, where will go? Though I am the main person, that's why I am serving here. So everybody thinks like that, because that is a designation. So many designations in this material world. If you ask somebody what is your actually your character, they think that I am different person, I born a different person, I am working so and so company, and I am serving this like this. He will tell so many things like this. So that designations, as long as in material world we have that designation is there. Actually our designation, actually we are a servant of Krishna. That is, we are forgotten. So Prabhupada telling not only this, even the actually religion, what is that religion? People think that I am a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Mohammedan, like that is different. But what is that? A Hindu also serving the public, and a Muslim also serving, and a Christian also serving, and sometimes Hindu want to become Muslim. What is purpose to serve? That is what actually. And sometimes as Hindu become the Christian also. Prabhupada is telling this, all the people, religion people, actually there is no actually this is called Hindu Muslim, this is a Sanatana Dharma. Means the eternal occupation of a living entity to serve Krishna. This is the eternal occupation of a living entity. One cannot be separated. It cannot be separated to any amount of this actually. So we have to serve Krishna. That's what our tendency to always, we have to do some service. We cannot be sit idle, no? We have to do something. We cannot be sit. But that is in wrong platform. If you do service, then we will become entangled in this material world. So Prabhupada is telling that is, even though religions also, that is not proper way. So Prabhupada is telling actually the religion is that is only thing is that everybody is a servant. Without serving, Prabhupada is telling in the Bhagavad Gita, one cannot be happy. It is not possible, because like this body, different types of different parts of the body. What is the meant for the parts of the body? To serve this body, to serve the stomach. If the hand thinks, no, why I should give the food to mouth? Why I should? What is the purpose? Then what will happen? Then hand will become weak. So the whole body, to properly maintain, everybody has to serve properly. That is the eyes and nose, legs, hands, fingers, everything to serve cooperatively so that the body will be functioning very smoothly. That is actually by this, the different parts of this body, when serve this stomach, then they will then get energy. So similar way, unless one serve Krishna, that living entity, he cannot be happy. Like a fish, if you remove out of the water, what will happen? Fish cannot be happy, because that natural tendency, the natural propensity, the fish is to be water. It cannot be separated actually. So similar way, the living entity, Prabhupada is telling, Swarupa Sthiti means that is called Swarupa. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told to Sanatana Goswami, every living entity has a eternal relationship with Krishna. So that relationship, to recognize the relationship, one should serve Krishna. As long as he will not serve Krishna, he cannot be realized that I am the servant of Krishna. So because of this, we are doing services, so many people, but still nobody is not happy. Why? Because that is, we are wrong platform. Our service attitude is putting in wrong side. That's what actually is satisfaction is not coming. So this is very important, means that is our constitution position is to serve Krishna. By that only one can be happy. So that is Swarupa Siddhi Prabhupada is mentioning in this. And Prabhupada is mentioning in this important thing is that Jnana Vairagyana. Jnana Vairagya means, here Jnana Vairagya Virena I told actually, but in that version Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya means when one understands his relationship with Krishna, then what will happen? Then he will engage in service of Krishna. So that is what actually. So when a living entity will understand, I am the servant of Krishna, that's what I am serving so many people, still I am not happy. So when he serves Krishna, then he will realize that I am serving servant of Krishna. That is a Swarupa Siddhi. By that he will get the knowledge and renunciation. What is a renunciation? Renunciation means the bodily designation. Prabhupada is telling actually. When we have bodily designations, it is very difficult to serve Krishna. So everybody serving that, all even doctors, lawyers, and then Prabhupada told, no, everybody is serving others. So that character, that a living entity, it is there to serve. So everybody, that's what actually it is. They are not realizing, as long as they serve Krishna, they cannot be realized to I am actually the servant of Krishna. So here Prabhupada is mentioning actually, what is that? What is meant by Prabhu? So Prabhupada is telling, just I will read here. When one is strong enough to give up influence of the material energy is called Prabhu. Prabhu means is a self-realized. Pada means that is a position. So what is the position? Our position is now we are in the position of I am man and woman, I am so and so. These designations. This is a designation actual position. When you remove that position, then your real position is that you are a servant. In the spiritual world, this is very honorable position, the servant position. But in this material world, this is seems very cheap in this material world. Servant means they will say, oh, you are a servant. But in the spiritual world, it is very honorable position. Why it is honorable position? Because in spiritual world, only the Krishna and servant, that's all. There is no other designation. But in this material world, we see the so many designations has come. So many designations. The servant is missing. But actually that is the doing everybody, but that is a missing. So that's what spiritual master, how can we call it? Because when he completely self-realized and his position is all is designation only to serve Krishna, then it's called Prabhupada. Prabhupada is here mentioning here. I will read. In this verse, the Prabhu is also significant. As stated before, when one is completely self-realized and act according to that position, he can be called Prabhu. The spiritual master is addressed as Prabhupada because he is completely self-realized soul. Means not only that position, how that position will come, he has to act on the behalf of the spiritual master or the supreme personality of the God. Then it called be Prabhupada. Otherwise, he cannot be called Prabhupada. Those who are not a liberated, self-realized, he cannot be called a spiritual master also. So that's why here Prithu Maharaj also is called Prabhupada. Why? Because he is self-realized and is completely is in the service of Krishna, and he is given up all the bodily designation and he engaged service of Krishna. That's why he is called Prabhupada. So here mentioning actually. The word Pada means position, and Prabhupada indicates that he is given the position of a Prabhu or the Supreme Personality of God. For he acts on behalf of the Supreme Personality of God. Unless one is a Prabhu or controller of the senses, he cannot act as a spiritual master. Means a spiritual master has to control his senses. Unless he controls senses, he cannot call it a Prabhu. Who is authorized? They authorized the Supreme Prabhu, Krishna. Krishna has to give authorization that he is control of the senses and he is given all the bodily designation. He is called Prabhupada. So this is not hereditary. Everybody can take Prabhupada. No, this is you are mentioning that Prabhupada means that he given a bodily designation and is completely engaged in the service of Krishna. That is called actually Prabhupada. So in Saktyavesara, even Prithu Maharaj also is a Saktyavesa incarnation. Why he has given? But why Prabhupada is telling why he also got this, you can call it a Prabhupada, because he acted as a king. He came to this material world and he acted a king to instruct the citizens. For that actually he has to act, and that's what. Why he has to follow all the rules and regulations? For him, no need to follow the rules and regulations. He is a Satyavasa Avatara, but he is follow the rules and regulations to set others, to give the example, set the examples to the citizens to follow properly. Means earlier kings, they are actually engaging everybody in the service of Krishna. So that is only the king's duty. King's duty to, as long as people engage in service of Krishna, they will be happy. Otherwise, they cannot be happy. That they knows. Even Prithu Maharaj or Parikshit Maharaj, they are all actually kings, Rajarsis, but they know the actually the living entity only they can be happy only when they engage the service of Krishna. Otherwise, they cannot be happy. As much whatever you can fulfill the desires, still people not happy. That's why you are seeing the modern citizens now. What is leaders are giving that our political leaders, the ministers, to fulfill all the way to fulfill the desires of a people, but still people are not happy. Of course, they are actually giving all wrong things, that is intoxicant and prostitution and meat eating. These things cannot be give the happiness to the citizens. These things that is not there in that, because the kings are not self-realized. No, they are completely Sudra, and they don't know anything about this actually. So they come because they want some money and they want to loot the public money. Because of that actually they are coming in the position, and people also like that only, and people also want to cheat, so they are also electing such leaders. That's why they are also suffering. So that's why in Kali Yuga, in the present situation, everybody is suffering because the leader is not properly engaging in service of Krishna, the people, so that people, that's why they are not happy. So this is instruction. That's why Prithu Maharaj, how he acted as a king and engaged all the citizens to the service of Krishna and religion activities, so that everybody is happy. So by this actually, so Prithu Maharaj also got that. So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur told, what is spiritual master means? Sakshat Dharitvina Samasta Shastra Uktastata Bhav Yata Eva Sadvi. Means the spiritual master is very confident servant of Krishna. So for him actually we have to honor as much as the Supreme Lord, because he is the most confident servant of the Lord. So that is what you are given. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also is Krishna himself, but he gave as a devotee and he teaches the people to how to engage in service of Krishna. So for him also, he has to ordinary duty, he has to follow the rules and regulations. He chanted Hare Krishna mantra, and he teaches this Bhagavatam, everything to Bhagavad Dharma to the public, so that people also they will be engaged. So this is Chaitanya means Acharyas, they will come and sets the example to the people, so that people will be properly engaged. Otherwise, there is no hope. There is no hope. So Prabhupada is mentioning that's what means. Um, when a living entity abandons the activities of Maya and attains the position from which he can execute devotion service, he stated is called a Sarupastha, means complete liberation. So when living entity realizes the constitution position of a living entity, then they will be liberated. Otherwise, they will be not liberated. So for that, actually, see how this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Prithu Maharaj are teaching the citizens and the public people to how to engage in service of Krishna, and to how to realize we are eternal relationship with Krishna. So Prabhupada is mentioning there are 5 relationships. What is that? No, Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Madhurya, and Prema. This fights of relationship, one who about this relationship, then you will develop the relationship with Krishna. So that is Arjuna also is a friendship relationship. So like that. So that relationship everybody have eternal. Prabhupada is mentioning every living entity have eternal relationship with Krishna. So to realize that, one should actually practice the devotion service. So devotion service, to realize that one, I am the servant of Krishna, I am the eternal relationship with Krishna. That is actually designation of a living entity. One cannot be separated that designation. That is only designations we have. That is we are servant of Krishna, and our relationship with Krishna is eternal. We don't have any relationship in this material world. It is all temporary in this material world. One day we have to leave this body. Because we are changing so many bodies, and that body is giving up all the relationship. Still, again we are coming to this material world, and again we are acquiring all the relationship. So when you stop this temporary relationship, when you come to contact with a spiritual master, a pure devotee, then they will give that our real relationship with Krishna. The eternal occupational duty for the living entity is only to serve Krishna. That is our real relationship. So when we experience the relationship, then only we will be happy. Otherwise, there is no question of happy. Prabhupada is telling in Bhagavad Gita also, unless one realizes that living entity, as long as he cannot realize it, he cannot be happy. So that is not possible. So that is Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam means what is giving relationship. Bhagavad Gita also, it is giving relationship. It is again and teaching that what is my designation? My real designation is to serve Krishna. That is what I am servant of Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told, Naham Vipro Nacha Narapati Napi Vaishya na Sudro Grihopati na Vanaste Tirva Kintan Pradyun Niklasva Paramananda Purnamrutabdir Gopi Bharata Padakamalayur Dasa 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 Anu Dasa. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said that I am not a Brahmana, I am not a Kshatriya, I am not a Vaisya, I am not Sudra, I am not a Brahmana, I am not a Kshatriya, I am a Brahmachari, I am Grihastha and Vanaprastha Sannyasa. I am the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord of the Gopis. So that is the actual position, that is the actual the living entity. There is no other position, there is no any designation. That is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told in Chaitanya Charitamrita also. So that is what we can learn from this verse. That is to when we realize that our relationship with Krishna, then we will be liberated. Otherwise, we cannot be liberated. So on the contrary, when we are not liberated, then we will become entangled in this material world. That's all. Again and again you have to take body, again and again you have to serve this whichever body we have. When we come to the contact of a pure devotee in the devotion service, then we will realize that I am eternal relationship with Krishna. That is what. Okay, Hare Krishna. We'll stop here. Any questions and comments, corrections? No. Yes, Prabhu.
To get the association of spirituality, so that to be properly guided to Supreme Spirit, Lord Krishna. But here, again and again, we are reminding all the situation in forgetfulness. But why not remind again and again the education which is being presented is had been presented by English people with wrong intent, that to deny all the spiritual knowledge, the superiority of Vedic knowledge to be denied. So that this education being presented by them, and we have to get this association of spiritual knowledge to be added to the present education. Even though 75 years happened after this republic and independence from these English people, why not motivate government to implement this much? 75 years long time has been passed. Why not implement this spiritual knowledge in the education? The ISKCON can simply ask, because of the authenticity of the ISKCON, the implementation and propagation dedicatedness given by Prabhupada ji. So it can be indicated to government from only one qualified ISKCON, to ask them and motivate them and force them to implement Bhagavad Gita in education. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Prabhupada already tried to with Gandhiji, Indira Gandhi. He wrote lot letters to follow, to practice Krishna consciousness, so that people can be happy. He want to give guidance to Gandhiji, but he did not turn up. He did not respect, he did not care for the neglect this Prabhupada words. So Prabhupada tried, and they are not, Prabhupada started this Krishna consciousness, educational, this is educational movement. He started earlier only. But what happened then, when letters are not turn up, then Prabhupada gave up. So we are trying, we are going here and there, and we are all over the world, we are preaching Krishna consciousness, we are giving books. It is going on, it is. But see, personally, one should take very seriously. Till that time, unless one realizes that in personal life, he cannot give others. Even though if you say many people chant Hare Krishna mantra and follow regulatory principles, a very few people will take. Everybody cannot take, because it is required some faith to the person. So that's what actually, that even though we are preaching all over the world, but very few people will take participate in this Krishna consciousness. Everybody cannot participate. The education movement is going on. Everybody knows. Even that our who is that? Our Maharaj, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, is gave Bhagavad Gita to Modi also in book day marathon time. So it is going on. In Modi knows that this Bhagavad Gita is Krishna consciousness, very principles, dharma they are practicing. So we are trying, but ultimately Krishna has to so. Krishna has to pass this all these things. So it will take time. It's not to change one person. It will take so much time to become a pure devotee. It's not easy. One should practice very seriously. Then you will realize how much it is emergency to give others, how people are suffering. When people are suffering, and we have to realize, no, how much these books are giving happy, this Krishna consciousness gives happiness. When you realize, then you will give others, otherwise you cannot give. So our leaders, they're trying. I'm knowing that one, I don't know much. Okay, Hare Krishna. You have question? Okay.
Hare Krishna, Puji. Thank you very much for wonderful class, Puji. Puji, in the starting, you have told about this, the meaning of Prabhupada. So you told about the Prabhu that Prabhu means self-realized and Pad means post. Or the person who are fully control the senses and always engage in Krishna consciousness or Krishna service. So now coming to the practical scenario, Prabhuji, nowadays, if we take these points, as Prabhu means self-realized and Pad means post, then we cannot identify any person that he is like a Prabhupada or he is a pure devotee or opposite, he is not a pure devotee. We cannot claim anyone that he is a pure devotee or not a pure devotee, because if these are the concepts, because we does not know the person fully, how he is, what is the inside Krishna consciousness going on. So how to understand, Bhoji, these points that whom we are following, because in the ISKCON also there are so many spiritual masters are there, and we cannot claim that they are a pure devotee or they are totally self-realized or they are not self-realized. That also we cannot claim. Then we have some faith on some devotee, and based on that we are continuing our spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness. And how to understand these points that who is the Prabhupada and whom we are following, they are really Prabhupada or not, or they are Prabhu or not, because we call everyone as a Prabhu. We accept that everyone is self-realized, so we call as a Prabhu according to this point. So for a normal person like me, how can I understand this point that whom we are following, that is correct or not according to these standards?
It is given, position is given, Supreme Prabhu, Lord Krishna. He has to authorize it that is Prabhu, like that. So that is what even I know that, till that I don't know who is given that designation. So Supreme Lord Prabhu, he will give that designation. He is called Prabhupada because he is preaching all over. He is Sektavya Avatar. Prabhupada is not just a self-realized, he is a Sektavya Avatar. Means directly from Lord's appointment, actually, this is to preach this cult of Srimad Bhagavatam and Sanatana Dharma. So when it is given that we can call Prabhupada, but others we cannot call Prabhupada because we don't know how much they self-realized, and somebody has to authorize it. We cannot justify that he is self-realized Prabhu, is Prabhupada. We cannot call, even our own spiritual masters, we cannot call Prabhupada because no one is authorized. And we know very well that my spiritual master is self-realized, completely self-realized. Still we cannot say Prabhupada because no one authorized. How can I say? Then it will be offense. So it should be authorized someone. Like how here Shaktavasa Prabhupada is given. Even Prutham Maharaj also is Shaktavasa Avatara. Prabhupada is writing. He is also called Prabhupada because he is an incarnation of Krishna, Shaktavasa Avatara. So he can call because he is completely self-realized. So by that actually, unless one authorized, we cannot say anything that about. So we just, they are self-realized, they are preaching Krishna consciousness, and you inspiring so much, then you just serve that self-realized soul, then you will be inspired and you will practice Krishna consciousness. If somebody authorizes it, then you can call Prabhupada. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati called Prabhupada because he is also Bhaktivinoda Thakur there gave actually. So somebody has to authorize it. We cannot.
In the same context, Prabhuji, you told that self-realized or totally control of the senses, that we call as a spiritual master or as a Prabhu. But like we had in some of the classes that even the person does not have fully able to control the senses, he can also become the spiritual master. Like at the time of NOI, I read this thing. That the person does not require that he is what you call perfect only. Then only called as a spiritual master. Even because everyone is in the practically material world, everyone is struggling, and even someone is not fully, like not perfect, because everyone is not perfect. Somewhere deficiency or someone likeness will be there. He can also become a spiritual master by the mercy of his superiors or senior. So that point is also correct, or
that's what even like a Madhyama Adhikari also can become spiritual master. That is given Prabhupada. But ultimately we have to give authorized. We cannot select. No, that is ultimately there is their spiritual master are there. They have to authorize it. You can give initiation. You are completely fixed in devotion services. You can give initiation to others also. So they can take, okay, this is Krishna gave, that is self-realized. That's what actually is giving initiation. I can take shelter of him. So that we cannot authorize it. That is also authorities, their spiritual master has to authorize. Then they are, even though they are not self-realized, but still, if their spiritual master authorized, then we can accept. So that is what actually it is. So many are in our moment, many are grosthas also. They are giving initiation because they are authorized. Actually, they can give because they are practicing very sincerely and many long time practicing. They may be self-realized. Who knows? Unless we develop relationship with them, we cannot understand how much is self-realized. So that is authorization is important. We should not select our own way. That is not good. Hare Krishna. Grandharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.